Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today for our Monday Healing Step session here in the Bridge to Healing community. Now, if you're new here or watching for the first time, I'm Janine Naus, a grief and trauma relief specialist. I support trauma survivors in navigating the weight of grief, loss, and emotional pain with compassion, clarity, and hope. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and type pound replay in the comments. And if you're here live, say hello and type pound live. I love to know where you're joining me from. So today's conversation comes from something Bessel van der Kolk, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, shared about insecure attachment and belonging. And it struck me deeply because if you grew up without strong, safe attachments, you might carry the silent belief that you're unwanted, unneeded, or never truly accepted. And that belief can follow you for decades. And for me, it also brought up the experience of someone close to me who was adopted. Most people around them never understood the complexity adoption added to their relationships, and they carried a constant undercurrent of, I don't fully belong, and it shaped how they showed up in the world. So today we're going to talk about why that happens and how it impacts your life now, and what steps you can take to build a real sense of belonging, even if it's something you've never truly felt before. Now, when you've lived through trauma or lacked secure, nurturing attachments early in life, the foundation for belonging is disrupted before it even has a chance to form. And instead of growing up feeling, I'm wanted, I'm safe, I'm a part of something, your nervous system often learns a different truth, one shaped by absence, uncertainty, or instability. The message can become, I'm not sure I matter here, or even, it's safer not to need anyone. Now, this isn't just a belief you think, it's a felt experience that seeps into your body, your breath, and the way you carry yourself through the world. The lack of secure attachment in childhood wires the nervous system for self-protection first, connection second, if at all. And because children are so adaptive, you may have found ways to survive emotionally, such as by staying small and quiet so you wouldn't be rejected, or maybe becoming overly self-reliant so you wouldn't have to risk disappointment, or working hard to be good or useful so you could earn a place. Those strategies may have kept you safe then, but they also planted seeds of disconnection that can follow you for decades. Even as an adult, you might enter new situations with a quiet readiness to pull back, just in case you aren't really wanted. And here's what's so important to understand. This isn't weakness, and it isn't who you truly are. It's a survival pattern born out of experiences that told your nervous system connection isn't safe. But the impact doesn't stop there. When you carry the early imprint of I don't belong, it can quietly shape your entire life in ways you may not even realize. And that's why in the next section, we're going to look at what it really costs you to carry this old message, sometimes without even knowing it's there. When the belief I'm not wanted becomes rooted in your nervous system, it doesn't just live in your memories, it threads itself into your identity, and it becomes the filter through which you experience relationships, opportunities, and even how you speak to yourself. And here's the thing, this belief rarely arrives in a single moment. It's formed slowly through repeated experiences of being overlooked, dismissed, or made to feel like you were too much or not enough. And then over time, it can feel less like a belief and more like a truth, one that silently shapes every choice you make. This hidden cost often shows up in ways that can be hard to see until you start looking for the pattern. For instance, it may be in relationships that never feel secure, You might find yourself holding back your full self for fear of being rejected or bending over backwards to please others just to feel worthy of keeping your place in their life. See, both patterns keep you from the safety and ease you crave. Maybe you have dreams that stay on the shelf. So saying yes to a new role, a new friendship, or a new chapter can trigger the fear that you'll be seen and then discarded. So you hesitate, delay, or convince yourself the timing isn't right. When underneath, it's really the fear of rejection keeping you still. Or there is an unrelenting inner critic. That early imprint of being unneeded can transform into a constant scanning for flaws, mistakes, or reasons you don't belong. It's exhausting, and it erodes the very self-worth you need to step into the life you want. And here's what makes this so tricky. See, these patterns are rarely conscious. They feel like self-protection. They feel like the safest choice in the moment. But in truth, they're a double-edged sword, shielding you from possible hurt while quietly reinforcing the old wound. Now, this is not evidence that you are broken. It's evidence that something painful happened to you, and your body and mind adapted to survive it. And just as your system learned these protective patterns, it can learn something new, something that allows you to step toward connection instead of away from it. That's why in the next section, we'll explore what begins to happen when you gently challenge that old message, when you start to allow in the possibility that you are wanted and that belonging is something you can create for yourself, even if it wasn't modeled for you early on. So if the old message is, I'm not wanted, has been running in the background, what begins to change when you gently challenge it? So the first shift is realizing that belonging isn't granted by other people. It's built through repeated safe experiences. It's not a single moment of acceptance. It's a series of small embodied cues that tell your nervous system, I matter here. Belonging becomes possible when we move from trying to prove our worth to letting ourselves be present in places where our present naturally comes. See, Bessel van der Kolk speaks to this so beautifully. And he talks about spaces like choirs, theater groups, dance classes, volunteer teams, any container where your contribution is visible and the whole depends on the parts. So, in other words, you're not just there, you're needed there, but to arrive there safely and stay. There are a few gentle truths that help the journey. You will want to name the old message without shaming it. So you begin by noticing when I'm not wanted gets activated. And you might feel it as a drop in your chest, a tightening in your jaw, a reflex to withdraw, or a rush to overgive. So instead of fighting it, try quietly naming it. An old message here. This moves you from being inside the story to observing it with compassion. You will want to start with micro moments of welcome. Why? Because your system learns through repetition and safety. So you want to look for small, predictable experiences that signal belonging. Someone greeting you by name, a consistent meeting time where people notice if you weren't there, a role that others rely on, even something simple like bringing tea, taking attendance, or setting up chairs. These micro moments teach your body, right now I'm seen, right now I belong. I also suggest that you choose low stakes, share focus spaces. Environments with clear shared focus reduce social pressure and make it easier to participate at your own pace. A community choir, a pottery class, a book circle, a community garden. a local volunteer shift, or a trauma-informed yoga group. The activity carries some of the emotional load so your nervous system doesn't have to perform. Now, in my younger years, I found that by starting and being involved in a community theater helped. So I started with small steps and growing from there. And that growth led to being able to choose my next best steps in life, even if there were difficult moments at that time. So you may also want to practice receiving without rushing to repay. For many trauma survivors, being cared for can feel more vulnerable than caring for others. So try a small experiment. When someone offers help, appreciation, or a kind gesture, let it land for a breath longer than usual. You don't have to repay that in that moment. Call it receiving practice. And over time, your body learns that letting in support is safe. And you may also want to let boundaries make belonging safer. True belongings doesn't ask you to abandon yourself. It includes your limits, how often you show up, how long you stay, and what topics or roles are right there, right for you right now. See, boundaries don't push belonging away. They make it possible to stay. This is helpful and very important. Expect gentle rupture and practice repair. Even in healthy spaces, there will be misunderstandings or missed cues. For a nervous system primed for rejection, these moments can confirm the old story. This is where healing grows. Try a small repair. Ask a clarifying question. State a preference, or share honesty how something landed. Safe, successful repair teaches your body conflict doesn't end connection here. And just as important, honor that the grief that arises as you reconnect. See, as you begin to belong, grief often surfaces. Grief for what you didn't receive, the years you felt outside, the versions of you that adapted to survive. This grief isn't a setback, it's evidence of thawing. Let it be a part of your belonging, not a barrier to it. I'm also thinking of someone close to me who was adopted. People around them rarely understood how complex belonging felt. What helped wasn't a single conversation, but a consistent relational space where their role mattered. Showing up weekly to volunteer, being counted on by name, and noticing when they weren't there. Slowly, their body began to register. I'm part of something that would be different without me. Not perfect, not overnight, but real. This is the heart of it. Belonging grows where two things meet. Your choice to show up with your truth and the presence of a container that can hold you. Your nervous system will learn from what you experience repeatedly, not from what you tell it once. That's why we don't push. We titrate, one small step at a time. In a moment, I'll offer a gentle step-by-step practice to help you choose a space and role that feels safe enough to try, so you can build belonging as a lived experience, not an idea. But first, I'd like for you to go ahead and take a deep breath in with me and blow it out, and then notice what part of this feels possible right now as you are. Now that we've looked at how early disconnection and lingering sense of being unwanted shape our present, I want to offer a gentle practical step we can try today. I call it creating safe micro moments of belonging. See, sometimes the idea of belonging feels overwhelming, like it's tied to finding the right community or the perfect relationship. But belonging often begins in smaller, quieter ways, what I call micro moments. These are brief, intentional experiences where you allow yourself to feel connected, accepted, or seen. even if it's just for a few seconds. And it could be making eye contact with a compassionate friend, and feeling the warmth of a pet curled beside you, or hearing a song that reminds you of a safe memory. The key is to notice these moments as they happen and let them register in your body. And when you do, you're giving your nervous system a new experience, one that says, it's safe to be here. I matter in this moment. And over time, these moments begin to rewire how you experience connection. So here's how to try it out. The first step is to choose a low pressure setting. And this could be sitting in a cafe, joining a small group online, or spending time with someone who feels safe. And the second step is to notice one cue of connection. And this might be a kind smile, a shared laugh, or a moment of being listened to without interruption. And the third and final step is to pause and feel it. Allow yourself 5 to 10 seconds to breathe and take it in, letting your body register the experience before your mind rushes ahead. See, these micro moments don't erase years of disconnection, certainly not overnight, but they plant seeds. And every seed you nurture makes it easier to believe that belonging is possible for you, not someday, but starting now. And as we close today, I want you to remember this. You do not have to navigate the journey back to belonging alone. Disconnection may have been your starting point, but it doesn't have to be your destination. See, every step you take toward connection, no matter how small, matters. And sometimes the most powerful step you can take is to allow yourself to be supported. And that's why I created the Healing Connection, a no-fee clarity call. It's a 30-minute heart-centered space where you can share what's been on your heart without judgment or pressure. And in that space, we'll gently explore what you've been carrying. And I'll offer you one insight and one supportive step you can begin right away. So this is not about fixing you. You are not broken. It's about giving you a safe place to feel heard, understood, and reminded that your story matters. And if you're ready to take that next step, the link to schedule is in the comments below. And I'd love for you to experience what it feels like to say yes to yourself in a way that's safe, gentle, and entirely yours. Thank you for being here today and for sharing this time with me. And I look forward to seeing you in our next Monday Healing Step session. So until then, be gentle with yourself. And remember, small moments of connection can begin to change everything. Thank you. Goodbye.